Welcome to video number 2 on trigonometry. In the last video, we said that we need trigonometry when we're only given one side in an acute right triangle. And we talked about how we should label the sides. We said that the hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. If I stand in angle theta, the adjacent side is always next to the angle, and the opposite side is always across from the angle theta. So same thing here. If theta is in the upper left corner, the hypotenuse is still across from the right angle. The adjacent side is next to theta, and the opposite side is across from theta. So let's use that information to develop 3 formulas. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll up a little bit. The S stands for sine. So the first formula is sine of theta, okay, equals, the O stands for opposite, which I'm going to abbreviate. The H stands for hypotenuse. So our first formula is the sine of theta equals the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So make sure you write that down, okay? And you also might want to put down sine of theta over 1, because you'll see later that we're going to use that to solve. So this is formula number 1. Formula number 2, okay? So we used S, O, and H. C stands for cosine. So the second formula is cosine of theta equals, A stands for adjacent, and H, of course, stands for hypotenuse. And again, you can put this cosine of theta over 1. So my second formula is cosine of theta over 1 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And I've used C, A, and H. And now I need to use TOA. So my third formula is tangent, which I abbreviate as tan, of theta equals, O stands for opposite, and A stands for adjacent. And again, I would put the tangent of theta over 1, and these are my 3 formulas. Okay, so let's actually look now and figure out, using these 3 formulas, how we would do the first problem that we discussed. Remember, in the last video, we had the following problem. We knew this was a 41-degree angle. We wanted to solve for x. This was a right angle, and this side was 5. Just to give you an example of how we would use these formulas, here's what we would do. We would look at the acute angle we were given. So this 41 degrees would be like our theta up here, okay? And what we would do is we would label this triangle hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. So this side across from the right angle would be my hypotenuse. This side next to the 40-degree angle would be my adjacent. And the side across from the 41 would be my opposite. Okay? Then we would decide which of the 3 formulas does it even make sense to use. And what I typically do is I circle the information I actually have. So I know my opposite side is 5. And I know my adjacent side is x. I have no information about my hypotenuse. So when I'm looking to decide which formula to use, what I'm going to do is look for a formula that contains opposite and adjacent. So let's look. Nope, that's not going to work. That's opposite over hypotenuse. I don't have the hypotenuse. This one's not going to work because I don't have the hypotenuse, but it looks like formula 3 will work. The tangent of theta equals opposite over adjacent, and I have all of that information. So now what I'm going to do is plug in and actually solve for x. So the tangent of theta, now remember, theta is the angle, so the angle here is 41 degrees. So I'm going to write tangent of 41 degrees over 1 equals opposite, which is 5, over adjacent, which is x. Now, we know that to solve a proportion, we can cross multiply. So I'm going to cross multiply. This is x times the tangent of 41 degrees equals 1 times 5, which is just 5. Now, to get x by itself, I'm going to notice that x is being multiplied by the tangent of 41 degrees. So to undo multiplication, I need to divide both sides of the equation by the tangent of 41 degrees. And I know that's kind of weird. It's something we haven't really done before, but that's exactly what we need to do. The tangent of 41 cancels with the tangent of 41, and I get that x equals 5 divided by the tangent of 41. Now, just so you know, to do these problems, you will need a calculator, specifically a scientific calculator. And if you don't have a scientific calculator, you can use the operations on your cell phone, or you can go on your computer and find a calculator on your computer that's free that'll do this calculation for you. But if you have a fancy calculator, I'm just going to sort of show you what this looks like, okay? All right, so I'm going to do 5 divided by, and your fancy calculators, let me actually move this up a little, will have these trig functions, right? Sine, cosine, and tangent. So divided by the tangent, and I'm going to type in 41, okay? And I'm going to get that x is equal to 5.75. Now, the one thing you want to be careful of is that you are in degree mode. So if I go to mode, I want it to say degrees because that was a 41 degree angle, okay? So I hope you found that helpful. I'm going to do some more practice in the next videos.